Hello everyone, this is Brock Skaggs. In this video we're going to look at creating an exploded view inside of SolidWorks. It's going to be kind of a two-part video sequence. I'm going to create the exploded view in the assembly in this video, and then I'm also going to make a second video where I'm going to use that exploded view in a 2D drawing for documentation purposes, and I create a bill of material with balloons and all that kind of nice stuff. But first we've got to create the exploded view, and that happens in the assembly. And so what we've got is basically a small electrical enclosure there. You can see some of the electrical components on the inside, and I've got some fasteners here, some socketed cap screws, and some hex nuts on the bottom that are holding this thing together. And so how do you create an exploded view inside an assembly? It's fairly straightforward. You can go up here to the assembly tab, and they've got a nice exploded view button here. And so that's the tool you use to get started. Things to know about assembly exploded views is you create them with a series of steps. And so in every step you select one or more components, and then you're basically pulling those components through space until you get them in this kind of unpacked or unassembled location. And then you basically say, hey, I'm done with that step. I'll create another step, select other components, drag them through space, finish that, and then you can see just that sequence builds and builds until you have the fully unassembled or exploded view of your assembly. Also, when I say drag, you can do rotations as well as translations. In this video I'm just going to mainly do translations though, just because of the geometry and how this thing's assembled. Alright, so SolidWorks is basically waiting for me to start exploded step 1. And so for that, I'm going to start with these longer socket cap screws that are holding the top of the enclosure on. And so here I'm just clicking them in space. SolidWorks recognizes the individual components. They're all turning blue, so these are all getting loaded into the explode step 1. And then you'll see I get this little triad show up here. And so I've got these excuse me, circular arcs that allow me to rotate about the different axes. And then I've got the triad to allow me to translate along the different axes. And so in this case I just want to translate, so I'll grab that y-axis there, just left click and holding with my mouse, and I can pull all those socketed cap screws up. They're all pulling up the same amount because they're all in that same step. Alright, so I just hit done if you were watching on the left hand side, and I said, hey, I want to create a new one. I actually didn't click step 1, so I was thinking I wanted to edit this again. I don't want to edit it. There we go. Hit done. Notice it indexes step 2. And now I can grab another component. So let's go for the top this time. So again, I'm just selecting it, just the one component this time, and pulling it up. And that's looking good. So I'm just going to hit done. Index in step 3. If I look down in here, I've got 3 socket head cap screws that are holding this electrical component. It's an Arduino with a little GPS shield on top, so what it's supposed to be. So I'll pull it up. I want to be able to see all 3 of those, so I'll just leave it right there. Click done again. Now let's go for this bottom enclosure, and so I'll come here, click it. I'm on step 4, pulling it down here. That looks fine. Done. And then last but not least, we've got a bunch of hex nuts down here. So hopefully you're seeing how this is all working, that I'm able to select the individual components I'm wanting to move at each step, and then just work my way to this exploded state. So now I'm just moving those, and just see what it looks like in an ISO. Okay, that looks fairly good. Let's just go back here, see if I can edit this guy. There we go. So notice here, I noticed I wanted to see all of those hex nuts there. I kind of got out of this step, came back into it, and now I've kind of perfected what I wanted to see, so to speak. Alright, so this is a nice exploded view here. You can see I've got a series of steps that are loaded up in the tree, 5 total. And so at this point we haven't really created anything, so I'll just go ahead and hit the green check mark, and that kind of finalizes and creates that as a feature, if you will. You may be asking yourself, okay, where's this stored? If I look here at my default kind of tree structure, I see all the components, but I don't see anything that says, hey, this is in the unexploded state or the assembled state. And so to see that, you actually go to the configurations tab. And so in this configuration, I was just operating in the default configuration, and then I've got now my exploded view that's sitting here. And you can right click on it and you can say collapse, and that'll trigger it all the way down. You can also right click and say explode. That'll bring it up there. And then there's also some animations in here. So if I say like animate collapse, you can see it'll animate on the clap side. Here you can see I've got it as a loop, and so it'll go back and forth, or I can kind of oscillate it where it's going to assemble and disassemble itself there. If you also want to, you can record videos of this as well for presentation purposes, possibly. Alright, so that's all nice and good. And I think we've arrived at the end of this video. So now I've been able to successfully create an exploded view that's inside of this assembly. It's called exploded view 1. And I can control its status, whether it's live in the exploded state or it's in the clap state, right here with this node underneath the default configuration. Alright, so hopefully that all makes sense and you're able to follow through all those steps, and it helps you in creating your own exploded views. Thanks for watching the video.